but that's the backup.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Hello. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. Our first item is to approve the minutes of the July 26th, 2016 regular meeting.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
I have a motion to accept as submitted.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's passed. Our first item of business under old business. Final plat, Mechanic property requested by JMC Surveying and Linda Mechanic. Proposed two-lot subdivision, 0.54 acres, property located at 125 Sunset Drive, tax map 018A, Group A, Parcel 3, R2 Medium Density Residential Zoning District, property owned by Robert and Linda Mechanic. Ms. Costanza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have had this item on the agenda for several months now, and I do have in your packet is a revised plat. I can state that there are no technical items to be addressed regarding the plat itself, and I can let you know that the Board of Zoning Appeals approved the two variances earlier this evening regarding the building setback for both of the houses, since they both encroach over the building envelope. So we have no items to address tonight.
That being said, do we have any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chairman, with all the items being addressed, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
Motion to accept. I have a second.
I'll second it.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Our next item of business under old business, site plan, McDonald's remodel request by Martin Engineering, 1.3 acres, property located at 505 Waldron Road, tax map 0170, Group B, Parcel 1, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by James D. Yarborough, trustee. Ms. Costanza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the workshop, we did review the updated site plan that shows the auto turn for the trucks, and there have been some minor curb revisions near the egress point at Ingram Boulevard that were added to the site plan after the workshop discussion. It's kind of hard for me to see, but they did pull back the curb on the eastern side to allow for easier circulation around.
We still did have the right turn only sign going up
Yes, it's still
on the opposite.
Any other questions or comments?
With all the items being addressed, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept as submitted.
A motion to accept is submitted. Do I have a second?
second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It passes. Our next item of business, under new business, recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Alderman request for subdivision acceptance for Phase 2 of Pinnacle Point, requested by Scott Butler, 32 lots on 14.46 acres. Property located along Sparrow Gap Drive, Rosalie Court, and Patrick Henry Drive. Plat Book 38, page 288, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District, property owned by Scott Butler. Mrs. Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Phase 2 Pinnacle Point, 32 lots on 14.5 acres. Since the August workshop, the applicant has successfully completed the punch list, and staff has received the draft of the maintenance bond and the offer of irrevocable dedication, as well as the as-built drawings, so we have no technical items to report tonight.
Any other questions or comments from the board? We'll entertain a motion to send a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to the mayor and alderman for subdivision acceptance.
I make a motion, Chairman, that we send a favorable recommendation to the Mayor and Alderman Board.
I have a motion for a favorable recommendation to accept Phase 2 of Pinnacle Point. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. We'll be sending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Alderman. Our next item of business, final plat, Nakarada Industrial Park, re-subdivision of Lot 4, requested by Dale and Associates. 3 proposed lots on 71.06 acres. Property located along New Paul Road, tax map 017, parcel 40, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Patriot LLC. Ms. Costanza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had quite a number of technical items at the workshop, totaling 17 actually. Since the workshop, they have worked rather hard to get these all taken care of, and tonight we have no technical items to address.
Very good. No technical items. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Well, I appreciate the working with us on the 17 items. With that, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
A motion to accept is submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes as well. Our next item of business, request to set bond amount for public improvements, Nakarata Industrial Park, re-subdivision of Lot 4 requested by Kimley Horn, 30 acres, property located off Center Point Way, tax map 017, part of parcel 40, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Patriot LLC. Ms. Costanzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In your packet are the 3 submitted bids plus the engineer's estimate, the contingency in the total of $408,800. Since the workshop, the engineer has stamped and signed his letter of estimation, which is in your packet, and he has received and supplied the signatures for all of the submitted bids, which are also in your packet. So we have no technical items tonight.
We have no technical items.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the engineer working with us and get the signatures as required and the stamp. And with that, I'll make a motion to accept the $408,800 bid.
I have a motion to accept the bid. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? We will be accepting that bid for $408,800. Our next item of business, site plan Lot 5 of Nakarata Industrial Park, requested by Kimley Horn, 30 acres, 3 proposed commercial warehouse buildings totaling 485,912 square feet, property located along New Paul Road, tax map 017, parcel 40, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District, property owned by Patriot LLC. Ms. Costanzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had 9 technical items at the workshop. They have since worked with the engineering department to get the grading plan and drainage calculations submitted. And of course, with the final plat just being approved, that is the only technical item that we would have had, so we have no items to address tonight.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
A motion to accept is submitted. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Our next item of business, site plan, Bojangles Restaurant, requested by Carlson Consulting Engineering, proposed 3,800 square foot restaurant on 1.38 acres, property located on Lot 2 of the Walmart Commercial Subdivision, tax map 018, parcel 2.01, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Walmart Real Estate Business Trust. Ms. Costanzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We reviewed this at the workshop, and the one issue that we had, or that was brought up by one of the commissioners, was they asked for some additional buffering along this eastern edge here, which you can see they have now added the entirety of that. That property line is now planted with shrubbery and landscaping, so they did add that for us. We have had, we actually didn't have any major technical items. They have supplied the letter regarding the drainage since it was all done as part of the Walmart development. So we have no technical items to address tonight.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'd just like to say I appreciate the applicant working with this board on the items to address, and with that, I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
A motion to accept to submit as submitted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? It passes. All right. Let's see. Our next item of business, rezoning of property requested by Mitchell Bowman, 0.68 acres. Property located at 100 Dobson Knob Trail. Tax map 032A, Group A, Parcel 1. Current zoning R1 low density residential. Proposed zoning C3 Neighborhood Service Commercial Zoning District. Property owned by Mitchell Bowman. Ms. Costanzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have much of an update as far as the workshop, as there were no technical items to address. because there are two rezoning requests for this vicinity. This is the subject of the first application, Lot 1, which is the 0.68 acres and has the house on it. I can state that since Friday, I have received, actually, I would now update it to 139 emails. I know my report says 137, but a couple came in while we were meeting. 137 emails from residents of both McFarland Point and the Ridge who are specifically against this, this commercial rezoning.
I don't know if the other board members have received calls, but I myself received several calls about this item.
Mr. Chairman, let him take the stance.
Excuse me?
Let Mr. Bowman take the stance so we can ask some questions.
Is Mr.
He is.
Um,
Mitchell.
One second. If we allow Mr. Bowman to speak, then we've got to allow everybody here to speak, and we would have to open the
no.
floor, correct?
Mr. Chairman, no, he's the applicant.
Okay.
And just like it would any other agenda item, if the board has questions for the applicant himself, certainly in their discretion to ask those questions and receive answers and discuss the item. In terms of a public comment period for this type of rezoning request, this commission's function is only to send a favorable and unfavorable recommendation up to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and there will be a public comment provided at that stage in the proceedings, and there the board will actually make the final determination of whether to rezone the property.
Very good, thank you. We're just trying to do everything correctly. Mr. Bowman, if you would please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Mr. Chairman, while he's on his way up, I'd like to make a statement.
Please.
Also, as I had alluded to earlier, I made that mistake. As an alderman, when the people were calling me, when I said something about you're coming up and speaking to the board, I was talking about the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and I do apologize for that confusion on that matter. But you will be able to come at the Board of Mayor and Aldermen at that time.
Very good. Mr. Bowman, I believe Mr. King has a few questions.
Yes, sir, I'd like for you to explain exactly what you're planning on doing.
Right.
So everybody can hear it.
Well, I've talked to several of my people that have moved into the subdivision, and it's probably my fault that I haven't had my subdivision meeting yet. But the reason y'all have a C3 zoning is to benefit a neighborhood. And what I'm trying to do with that C3 is try to cut the traffic down. You know, there won't be a convenience market there. There won't be. There'll be things like a salon, a hair shop, ice cream shop, so you can walk your kids down there, a Subway shop, and those kind of things. Because, you know, what I'm trying not to do is I'm trying to enhance the subdivision. And all across the United States, that's what we're doing. Instead of getting in our cars, we feel safer and better, easier sometimes to drive down to the end of the road, take our grandkids for ice cream, get a sandwich or what have you. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to do with that land there, is make it appealing to that area. Now, you know as well as I do, I put the utilities and everything in the subdivision, and one day that area may be appealing to a big box, which may help the road increase in size, which is what it needs. But it's going to be a craftsman style is what it's going to be. It's going to be something that looks really nice. It's not going to be very big. It's got a slope on the lot, so there'll be halfway in the middle. On the right side, you'll have commercial there, and it'd be a small area like that. And then on top will be also commercial. So you'll have, you know, two levels, and it won't overcrowd the lot is what I'm trying not to do. There'll be a lot of landscaping. It'll have a lot of green areas like I'm used to at the Gateway in Murfreesboro. So, and then, you know, after you come past these two lots, then you'll have the entrance to the subdivision. This is not the main entrance to the subdivision. The main entrance to the subdivision is going to be at the other end. So, you know, the traffic is going to come in from that subdivision at that end is what's going to happen.
So nothing is actually etched in stone as to what's going to go in there. It's just a
No,
simple rezoning and a broad opening of the C3.
Correct, correct. And it's going to go in line with your C3, but there's items on your C3 that I've scratched out that I will not let in there. We own 200 acres there, so I'm just you know, in other parts of the country, this is big. This is what they're doing, is putting this in other parts of the country, and it draws people to neighborhoods. You see people walking down the sidewalks and, you know, that kind of thing, so.
How much of the ridge is completed, if you don't mind me asking?
Right now,
How many
we've
homes or
completed
residents?
35 lots, minus the 2 on front is 33.
How many residents are living on the ridge right now?
Right now, there is just 3, I think. Three people, maybe 4. 4 after Friday, I think.
I personally feel it's a little bit early in the development of the neighborhood to go rezoning property, but that's just my opinion.
Right.
Um,
Well, and, you know, I am going to meet with all the homeowners to show them, because I have that rendering, and I think that's what we're doing Thursday night, right? Is we're having the Alderman workshop? Yes. That's what Thursday night is, so I'll be prepared then, is what I'll be prepared.
Mr. Bowman, a few questions from me.
Yes, sir.
Do you plan to retain ownership of the property?
Yes, sir, I do. It will not be sold.
And so therefore you plan to build it yourself?
Yes, sir. We have a commercial license. We will build it.
And are you aware of the limitations that C3 gives to you?
Yes,
I mean,
very
you read
aware.
these, so it's very specific in what C3 can go in there.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and I have a specific list that I've put together, too.
And you mentioned that the main entrance, what you're referring to is the entrance you're going to have off Walden Road
Correct.
as a subdivision.
Yes, that will be the main entrance of the subdivision.
Planning ahead or thinking ahead on the building that you plan to build on both these lots, if it were approved, are you going to maintain the same aesthetics and building types as what you're building as far as, you know, the commercial to the residential, or what's your plans or thoughts on what type of building you're going to put on there?
Well, the picture that I showed you, which I have some with me, but I'm going to stick with that craftsman style, something that's very appealing, warm, and that people would like to, you know, hang out at, is what I'm thinking.
So I mean, you mentioned some of the ideas of what you plan to put in there. Could you just mention a few more of what your thoughts or ideas were you'd like to put in those 2 lots if it were approved?
Well, I'd like to put, you know, naturally a spa, a hair shop, ice cream shop, a Subway shop, you know, just along that line, things that people could feel comfortable with walking down the sidewalk and getting a sandwich or getting ice cream or something like that.
So being the builder and therefore the leasee, you would control who comes in there as a business?
Correct. And I left out coffee shop. That just loves, that was the example that I used.
That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions or comments? There being no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to give a unfavorable or favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
I'll make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to Mayor and Alderman.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to send a favorable recommendation. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Aye?
Aye.
No?
No.
Aye.
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 We will be sending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen on this item. Our next item of business, rezoning of property requested by Mitchell Bowman, 1.579 acres, property located at 101 Dobson Knob Trail, tax map 032A, Group A, parcel 37, current zoning R1, low density residential, proposed zoning C3 neighborhood service commercial zoning district, property owned by Harding Fox. Ms. Costanza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Mr. Fox is the business partner of Mitchell Bowman. In your rezoning packet for this specific item, which is lot 37, there should be there is a letter from Mr. Fox authorizing this Rezoning Request. And as I showed previously, this is the opposite side, excuse me, this is the opposite side. It's the lot 37, which is vacant presently, and that is the larger parcel. It's about double the size at 1.579. It's the same report since these came in together, and all of the technical items were submitted as required. I will again reiterate that I received 139 emails from residents of McFarland Point and the Ridge against the rezoning since Friday. So that's all I have to report.
Very good. Mr. Bowman, could you please step up to the podium? State your name and address for the record.
Mitchell Bowman, 1105 Creek Run Court, Murfreesboro.
We just discussed the previous item, and correct me if I'm wrong, you told us that you owned both of these lots.
I did B and F, but I got right to do this for Harding Fox, since we're business partners on the subdivision.
Mr. Coates asked if you were going to keep and retain control of the property to limit what went in there.
And I am.
You stated,
I will.
yes, you own the property.
Yes.
So do you own the property?
I don't own that lot. I owned that lot when we developed the subdivision. Because of tax purposes, I took lot 1, he took lot 2. After we decided what we...
Ethically, do you not think you should have told us that you didn't own both of these lots when you were asked?
Yes, I probably should have, but
Yes, you probably should have, sir. Thank you, sir. Not at this forum, sir. Let me explain this very eloquently. This is a closed forum, and basically all we're doing is voting and giving a favorable or unfavorable recommendation. It will go from here to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, where you can discuss and give your opinion and everything. Regardless of what decision we make, the mayor and aldermen can still go either way. So that is really where you want to be to express your opinion. I really can't address anything else, sir. I can only express that opinion.
The lot he was speaking about was not the lot. It's not the lot that's closed off. This is the lot that's closed off. He was talking about the little bitty lot, and he was talking about putting 2 stories.
Sir?
How you gonna put all those shops in 0.67 acres?
Sir, I appreciate your concerns, but this particularly is not the forum. The final decision will be made at Board of Mayor and Aldermen. So we're going to continue on so that this can reach Board of Mayor and Aldermen, and everyone here will have a chance to give their opinion. Thank you very much. So, Ms. Costanza, no technical items on this one?
No, there were none.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I suppose my question now is, do we have the actual owner, is the actual applicant? That's my technical issue that we have now.
And
He signed over that,
No,
right?
he signed off on the
He
certification
signed off that,
statement.
right, and it's notarized.
it's if we have no questions or comments.
Well, I've got one thing, unless if I may.
Yes, sir, please.
Kristen, if you look on the certification statement, you on that certification statement, where's the signature? Where's application that I, blank, in my capacity as blank, am authorized to sign this application on behalf of the owner?
I had, mine says, let me just make sure that we're looking at the same one.
Yeah.
Since there were two applications, but. Yeah, I hereby certify that Harding Fox is the owner of the property.
Mhm.
That's his signature.
Right.
That's him, and they notarized it saying that.
Right, but
Right.
shouldn't, he's speaking on his behalf, he needs to sign that, doesn't he?
And it's already been
Well,
notarized.
Harding Fox is certifying that Mitchell is able to be the applicant. That's all it is, so. I mean, he said that he is, because, yeah, Mitchell is signed it, Harding signed it as the owner, and and it was certified and notarized.
Right, but the delegation of authority, it's blank. I mean, I could put my name in there.
I could put my name in there.
See,
Well, if he-
Mr. Fox
yeah.
authorized whom? It needs to be, I mean,
Himself to sign this application on behalf of the owner, which is what he did.
right.
Right. Harding Fox, the owner,
I,
signed it as the owner.
Right.
And authorized Mitchell to,
So
Well, it said-
technically,
oh, well, it says Harding Fox is the owner of the
Mhm.
property located to this application. And I mean, did you want him to fill that out?
it should have been filled out.
it should have
I mean,
been filled out prior to.
It should have been filled out prior to
I mean, I guess he
notarization.
could have said, which is the subject of this application, that I, as the owner, am author, but that's just a redundancy of the first line.
No, it says, it will say, Mr. Fox, as the owner, and this should have been submitted to you by Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Mitchell, it should have said, Mr. Mitchell's name here, as the co-owner or whatever he is. But both names have to show up on here. He doesn't have to notarize his own signature. He doesn't have to get that notarized. He's the only one that signed that sheet, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And that notary should have caught that.
Yeah, we can have the lawyer look over the
Okay.
details of that, but yes,
I mean, I'm quite sure on the other one, there's authorization on it, but that particular sheet itself,
yeah, sometimes people will send in a letter, notarizing their own letter.
Yeah.
It comes in a variety of
Okay.
of ways, but we can make sure that the attorney reviews it.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with Calvin. It looks to me we can't do any rezoning or even do a recommendation unless the applicant has assigned it appropriately and or delegated it to the applicant. At the moment, I mean, although I was for the other one, I'm hesitant on this of doing this inappropriately with what's going on. So, with that, I mean, I don't know what we can do, but as far as the application is not, as far as I'm concerned, is not valid because we haven't got the required signature in place.
Would you like to put that in the motion?
Oh, well, yes. I would like to have our attorney just look at it real quick, just so he gets his idea too. I want to make sure we handle this appropriately and correctly.
Thank you.
Graham, just by looking at it, I'd have to, I mean, I couldn't make a split decision whether this is a valid designation of authority or not. If there are technical items that have not been complied with and the commission doesn't feel comfortable based on what's been presented in the application, that can be a basis, as well as any other basis could be for motion to give an unfavorable recommendation of that. Now, the board may want to keep in mind the inconsistency that may result in the next stage of this of having approved one lot but not the other. Also, moving forward, if this is something that can be remedied, because it is a technical aspect of the application and is not necessarily on the merits of whether the board wants to give a favorable or unfavorable recommendation. I know precedent is a big thing with this planning commission, but if the board were inclined to send a favorable recommendation of this lot, since it already did with the second lot, contingent upon this technical aspect being remedied, then that would be an option, because it seems like what would need to be proper if the board has an issue with this is a proper designation of authority to Mr. Bowman as the applicant, which the board has reservations about this being at this time.
With that being said, we can either take a motion or what, sir?
The board also has an option to defer this particular aspect of it, and can always have a special meeting if need be, once the paperwork is done correctly, and or have it at the next regular meeting. And eventually, regardless of anything, there is a deferral, and then the decision's made at the next planning commission meeting. It would go before BOMA in the typical process. It may not be at the same time, though, because of this delay as the first lot.
With that, Michelle, I'll make a motion just to defer, because I don't think we have anything correct until it's all correct. I don't think we can move forward with our rules and regulations unless it's signed off appropriately.
I agree. I have a motion for a deferral.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say
And if
aye.
I may, before the voice vote, and just check with staff, regulations concerning not acting on this wouldn't affect this, because we're just doing an unfavorable recommendation.
Right.
Agreeing with that.
That's correct.
Okay.
Very good. I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All
Mr.
opposed?
Chairman, I need to know who gave the first and the second, because I did not catch that.
The first was given by Mr. Coates. The second was given by Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
The ayes have it. This item has been deferred till next month. It will be coming back before planning to our workshop. It is the second Tuesday of the month. Thank you. Next item of business. Rezoning of property requested by Michael Hedgeka, 28 acres, property located off the intersection of Minerva Drive and Money Street, tax map 014, parcel 46.01, current zoning I1, light industrial, proposed zoning R1, low density residential zoning district, property owned by Carla King. Ms. Costanza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did have two technical items for this rezoning request as of the workshop. I have since received the label matrix and the survey of the property and legal description, which is on your screen and contained in your packet. So we have no technical items to address tonight for this rezoning request.
Do I have any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion to send a favorable or unfavorable recommendation to the mayor and alderman for the rezoning request on this 28-acre parcel.
Make a motion to send a favorable recommendation to the mayor and alderman on the rezoning.
I have a motion for a favorable recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We will be sending a favorable recommendation to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Our last item of business, bonds and letters of credit.
In front of them, it's up to date. The only change that's been made since the last meeting is McFarland Point Section 12 has went down to a maintenance letter of credit. Everything else is still the same.
Any other questions or comments? I have one. In regards to the new super center, I would like to thank the Board of Planning and our staff. I sat out there for several days after it opened, and we worked very diligently to ensure that traffic flowed as smoothly as it could. I'm very proud to say that I don't think we've had very many problems, just a couple of minor traffic accidents. The light on Murfreesboro Road coming into Walmart seems to have slowed traffic down coming in from Smyrna, so it's flowing very nicely there, and I'd like to thank everybody for the several months of hard work that everybody did to get that in order. Oh, well, I know we've had a couple. I know we've had a couple, but considering the hundreds of people that we've had coming in and out, I think we're doing very well compared to the one a day they get in Antioch down there. So, thank you everyone for appearing, and meeting's adjourned.